Hi guys, it's Amber from Amber Eats Books, and I'm here today to answer your questions. Yes, it's those questions that you asked me probably about a month ago when I posted my 400 subscriber Q&A video. I'm so sorry that I'm putting this up later than expected, but better late than never, I guess. I have written down all the questions here in my notebook, so let's get started. The first question was from Karen at Run Right Reads, and she asked, if you had a chance to put a book in a time capsule to be open 50 years from now, what book would you choose and why? I thought about this question all morning long, and then I finally saw this book sitting on my shelf, and I thought that would actually be hilarious to put into a time capsule, and that is Charlie and the Choo Choo by Beryl Evans. Really? It's by Stephen King. But I just thought that that would be hilarious. They would open this and be like, oh, is this what children's books look like back then? But yeah, I just thought that'd be really fun. The next couple of questions come from Alicia at Pretty Brown Eye Reader. She asked, what is your favorite time of year? And that is definitely autumn. I love the fall. I love the crispness that's in the air. I love the changing of the leaves. I love just all the colors that are outside. It's just like everywhere you look is a masterpiece. I like it more than spring. Definitely, like the colors are just so eye-catching in the fall, especially here in the Northeast. I mean, I'm in prime leaf peeping territory up here, so love it. I also love the holidays that come, Halloween, Thanksgiving. I love how much family time we seem to have at that time of year. I don't know, it's just my favorite. Plus my birthday is in October, so that might be another reason why I kind of love it, because I get a little spoiled during that time of year as well. Her second question was, are there certain books you read during your favorite time of year? And that is definitely like mysteries, thrillers, horror novels. Stephen King is definitely big, especially through the month of October for me. I absolutely just love reading books that put me on the edge of my seat, because I just think that fall evokes that emotion for me. So great question. Christine at Kizzy Reads asked, besides reading and cooking, what other hobbies do you have? I don't have a ton of hobbies. I'm definitely not a super crafty person, so I don't have a lot of stuff that I can actually sit down. Like I don't scrapbook, I don't do planners or anything like that. There's definitely areas that I'd like to get into, like planning and coloring and stuff, but I have not yet to get into that category. But I do like to garden. It's one of my favorite things to do. I definitely love creating new gardens around the outside of my house, and I haven't been able to do a lot of it this year. I have one garden that we were able to accomplish last year after we moved in, and I haven't been able to do anything else since, but it's definitely something that is always on my mind that I want to get to soon. I also love to hike. Whenever I can be out in nature, just surrounded by nature, I'm so happy, so I love to get out there. I also love photography, which definitely nature is my favorite thing to photograph, so that kind of goes hand in hand. I also love to just sit on the couch and watch movies and TV shows as well. So those would be all of my hobbies. Mamie from Mamie's Medley asks, do you keep a journal? No, I do not. I love the idea of keeping a journal, but I always end up starting it and never following through. The most that I have done for keeping a journal is like little bullet journaling. It's not proper bullet journaling, it's just my way of doing things, and that's for my booktube stuff. So I do keep little journals for that, where I write down my thoughts on books or things that I want to do or videos I want to make. That's about the only sort of journaling that I'm able to get done. Her other question was, do you have a set reading schedule? In other words, do you have set times of the day that you read, or just pick up a book whenever? When I'm working, I definitely seem to have more set times of the day that I read. I read sometimes at work when I have a break here or there, and then I read later on in the evening for a couple of hours. I sometimes pick a book up during the middle of the day when I have my break, but if I'm doing a lot of stuff, such as cleaning the house or whatever, I may not have time to pick up a book. Here in the summertime, it seems to be my set times of reading are definitely first thing in the morning, first thing in the evening, but I've been picking up books randomly throughout the day as well. Dee from Books and Quirks asks, is there a book from your childhood or teenage years that really impacted you? When I was younger, I really just read for escapism. I had kind of a rough childhood, so reading was the one place where I felt safe and was able to kind of leave my mind for a while and go somewhere else. during that time, some books that really resonated with me were books by Cynthia Voigt. She wrote a book called, I think, Homecoming, which was the beginning of a series of books. And she also wrote one called Building Blocks. And those books have just stuck with me throughout my entire adulthood. I still remember them. There's so many books that impacted me, though, as far as my reading life goes. I definitely read the Babysitter's Club and the Sweet Valley High books. And I loved Where the Red Fern Grows. That was the first book I ever cried while reading. I read The Boxcar Children. There was just a ton of books that I've read when I was younger that really impacted who I am now as a reader. But as far as impacted my life, those Cynthia Voigt books really just got me a lot of the time. JD Estrada asked, if you had your own sitcom, what would it be called and what would it be about? It would be called That's the Way It Goes, and it would just be about all those moments in my life where things just happen and I just have to sit there and shake my head about them, and just the funny, hilarious things that ensue because of those types of situations. His next question was, heaviest book you ever read, as in weight, and that would have to be Under the Dome by Stephen King. This book is massive and it hurts just holding it up. His next question is favorite buddy reads. I've not done a ton of buddy reading here on BookTube as far as single buddy reads with one person. I've done a few. I've done one with Tina from the Neverending Bookshelf. I know I've done one with Liz Schubert. I don't think she has a channel anymore, but we actually have one set up at the end of this month that I'm really excited about. I've buddy read with Crystal the Bookworm, which was a lot of fun. I've also buddy read with, I feel like I'm forgetting people. I don't know. I buddy read with a few single people, and then every month I do hashtag on the BookTube shelf where I buddy read with other ladies here on BookTube. I always leave all the links down below, and I just recently joined Lisa's Buddy Reads group on Goodreads, and I read with her and a bunch of other people. We all read the same book at the same time and are able to discuss it, which is a lot of fun. I'll leave those links down below as well. And his last question was, your favorite book becomes a ice cream flavor. What book is it and what's the flavor? Well, my favorite book series is The Dark Tower, which is right here behind me. So I would think it would have to be something dark, so maybe chocolate ice cream, but that bright red always gets me, so maybe with strawberry bits, so maybe a chocolate strawberry combination. I don't know what else I would put in there. Maybe a little bit of marshmallow, because I love marshmallow in there. Yeah, that would probably be the best flavor. That really makes me want ice cream right now, because ice cream is one of my favorite foods. But Sylvia K asks, what is your job or occupation? I am a school bus driver. And then she says, what does your average weekday look like? It's busy. I wake up really early in the morning, probably around 4:30. I get myself ready, get the kids ready, do all that sort of stuff, get out the door. I go to work for a couple of hours. I come home, I do more stuff around the house usually, maybe get my dinner started in the crock pot maybe. I run errands. Sometimes I'm able to just come home and relax and not do a lot in between my runs, but normally I'm doing something. Then I go back to work for a couple of hours. Normally I have to pick up kids from after school activities once I'm done with work. Then we come home, make dinner, eat dinner. I sit down finally for a couple of hours in the evening, and I normally read, and I'm asleep by 8:30, 9 o'clock because I wake up so early. During the summer, I've been going to sleep at 11 and waking up at like 6, so it's going to be very hard to get back into the routine once summer's over. Tina from the Neverending Bookshelf asked, what book did you dislike so much that you would never recommend it to anyone? That would probably have to be All the Pretty Horses by Cormac McCarthy. It's like the one book that I tried to read and I could not read it because of the lack of punctuation and stuff and the run-on sentences. I just hated it so much that I would never recommend it to anyone to read. And she also asked, what is the first fantasy book that you read? I don't remember. I really honestly don't. I started reading Stephen King when I was like 13, but before that I probably read, I do remember specifically reading like a book about fairies, which is definitely a fantasy book, but I can't tell you the exact name of the book, but I've always been reading fantasy books. I just love make-believe worlds and fairy tales and things like that, so I've been reading them forever. Lisa K asks, if you could pick up one fiction or nonfiction book about mental health to recommend to someone, what would it be? Now, I have not read a lot of nonfiction mental health books, so I don't really have a recommendation for that. But one book that I found fascinating this year that I read and had a lot to do with mental health sort of issues was definitely Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. I feel like that is a must-read book for everyone. It just really makes you think and makes you see things from another perspective. Jen from Remember Reads asks, how do you decide to organize and arrange books and collectibles on your shelves? It's an ever constantly changing decision. I will change my bookshelves around. I will be happy for a little bit, then I need to change them all over again. It's basically really when I run out of room, I decide, all right, time to do a full redo of my bookshelf. So I just kind of put things where I think they look good and hope that they look good. The Lawn Gnome asks, who were your biggest influences to make you want to create a YouTube channel? Everyone. I loved watching BookTube when I first started. Of course, I started with a lot of the bigger name booktubers like Jesse the Reader and Ariel Bassett, and just going through all of those. And then I started finding some smaller channels that I've really grown to love. I started watching Crystal the Bookworm. I was watching Reading with Pugs, Paper Bits. I was watching all these little smaller BookTube channels. And then one day I stumbled upon Peter from Peter Likes Books, and his videos were really what motivated me to actually make my channel. I fell in love with the way that he talked. He was just like no nonsense, and he had this one video that basically said, you know, if you want to do a BookTube channel, you want to make one, just do it. He's like, I'm nothing special. I'm just talking about what I like, and sometimes I ramble, and if you want to do it, you should just go out and do it. And for whatever reason, right then when he said it, it just propelled me to really want to do it, and I started making videos probably a week after that. Lisa from Brand New Book Smell asks, what kind of music do you like? I'm just as eclectic with my music as I am with my books. I love all different kinds. I grew up listening to a lot of 80s pop music. I have also listened to country, though it's still not a big part of my music life. I do love a few songs here and there. I also, when I was in middle school, loved boy bands. Then I got into high school and I was more like R&B and hip hop. Then I got into some Spanish music for a while. I love Broadway and show tunes, probably one of my favorite things to listen to right now. I also love Disney music. I love regular pop music that's on the radio. I'm just all over the place. If it's a good song and if I can find some merit normally within the lyrics, then I end up tending to love that. I also love, and I mean love, right now I listen mostly to pop music, Broadway show tunes, and then 50s and 60s like Motown music. Absolutely enjoy that. So I'm all over the place, just like with my reading. My last question is from Lisa at Lycan Books, and she asks, what is the first book you read with your daughter? I'm guessing she probably means my youngest daughter, Brooke, and the first book I ever read with her was Hands, Fingers, Thumb. If any of you are parents out there, you will probably remember that book as well. She actually had it as a board book, and she absolutely adored it. There was another book that I read to her a lot too. It was an Elmo book, but I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but she knew every word to it. I would act it out, and she would repeat it back to me and do the little hand gestures that I made up to go with it. So we've been reading it pretty much since she came out of me. So those were all the questions that you guys asked. I had a blast answering them all. Thank you for responding, and thank you for being such great subscribers. I can't believe I reached 400 subscribers, and you guys were a big part of that. So thank you, and I hope you have a great week, and happy reading.